name is Juliette Gudknecht, and I serve as an education program specialist at OSEP at the U.S. Department of Education, and it's truly an honor to speak with you all today. I'm here not only as a federal employee working to support the implementation of IDEA, but also as someone with lived experience navigating the education system as an autistic student. What I'm going to share with you today is very personal. It's a story about missed opportunities, late intervention, and the transformation that became possible when someone finally asked what I needed in order to learn. So let's start with the basics. Autism is often misunderstood as a checklist of deficits, but in truth, it's a different way of experiencing the world. It shapes how we sense, learn, communicate, and connect. So I'm going to be playing a video in a second here, but I just wanted to kind of address what you might be thinking. Maybe she doesn't look autistic, and I've totally heard that one before, but I just want to say that autism is not always visible. And it doesn't have one face, one voice, or one stereotype. And that when we define autism by how it appears to others, we often overlook students who need support. So to help illustrate the sensory experience of autism, I wanted to share a short video with you all, basically showing what even a trip to the shopping mall is like for an autistic person. And this is not everyone's experience, but it closely mirrors mine. So, if you could play the video. Yeah, I think that video really says more in 1 minute than I could in 10, but it raises another fair question of how can someone with autism speak in front of more than 1,000 people? So the answer, time, support, therapy, learning, I didn't get here overnight. I'm standing here because I was given the chance to understand myself and to access what I needed. And I'm really not here for my own gain, but here for every student with autism still waiting to feel heard. So, let me take you back. This is a photo of me when I was younger, and I completed K-12 in public schools without an autism diagnosis. I kind of did what I was asked, turned in my homework, kept my head down. On paper, I looked fine, but I wasn't. I struggled with executive functioning a lot. I had panic attacks that were later identified as autism meltdowns. felt like I didn't belong, and no one really identified this as a neurodevelopmental disability until I was an adult. And instead I was told to, try harder, sit still, stop being so sensitive. So I did what many undiagnosed autistic students do. I kind of internalized the blame on myself. So at age 19, I was formally diagnosed with autism by a neuropsychologist. I have grown up with cousins who have autism and intellectual disabilities, so I knew the word, I knew autism was a thing, but I didn't think it could be something that I had. So the diagnosis really gave me context and explained why everything felt difficult for so long. And it gave me the ability to ask for support without shame. It let me stop blaming myself, and start building a future for myself. So with this understanding, I began to advocate for myself, and I received accommodations in college for the first time, and I ended up interning at the U.S. Department of Education at IES, and a little bit of OSEP too, for 2 years as a part of my master's in statistics. And now I work at OSEP, and that's a photo of me and my internship supervisor, Sarah, who's here today. But I really do this work not despite my autism, but informed by it. It really shapes how I think, problem solve, and how I lead. So looking back, along with academic accommodations, I can name a few more general things that I needed. Things like predictability, structure, routine, space to regulate and recover and not just push through things. I needed adults that knew that behavior is a form of communication and really giving support before it hits an emergency crisis point. And most importantly to me, I needed strategies that worked for me, not neurotypical students, not even students with autism, but an individualized support plan for me. So why do supports matter? Well, they change outcomes. They certainly changed mine. And when I finally did get accommodations and understanding, I went from kind of just getting by in high school to earning a master's degree from an Ivy League institution. And now I'm completing a PhD while working full-time, helping lead national work on special education data. And I think all of my own personal success started with someone asking the right question, not what is wrong with you, but what do you need to thrive? And that one question made all the difference for me. So there is another side to this conversation that I want to quickly go over, and it's the pressure autistic people feel to appear non-autistic, which is called masking. It means suppressing stimming, mimicking social norms, and hiding distress. And masking is often rewarded, and people will say, you seem fine, because you're masking, but it's really exhausting and can lead to burnout, anxiety, and identity loss. And no one is perfect, and I still mask a lot. I'm masking right now to give this speech. What I really want to bring home is that just because a student with autism looks like they're okay, they could be struggling a lot on the inside. And tolerating discomfort is not the same as full access to education. So simply surviving is not. Okay, so to me, I think our education systems were not designed for every kind of learner in mind, and that's something we really have the power to change. Autism is not really a straight line from less to more autistic. To me, it's more like a DJ soundboard, where each of the traits line up and people have varying levels of different traits. So it's not like a straight line. It's just different profiles. And I think support shouldn't be just a straight line either, it should be varied. So Inclusion is obviously essential, but it has to be honest and has to be meaningful. So I've been in classrooms where I was misunderstood, unsupported, and bullied. I've also seen what's possible when autistic students are in environments that recognize and support their needs, especially when educators are knowledgeable about autism. And for me, peer support groups and clubs for autistic students specifically were really transformative. I only discovered these as an adult, but for the first time, I felt understood, I felt safe, and I felt like I belonged. That said, not every autistic student or family wants the same thing, and I think that's exactly the point. I think that autistic students should have agency. They should be able to choose whether they feel more supported in a specialized setting with trained educators and peers who share their experiences, or in a general education classroom that may have broader opportunities but present more social risks like isolation or bullying. And there isn't really one right answer. I think the key is individualization, asking the student and family what truly works best for them. And when we talk about placement, I really think we can't focus only on academic measures like test scores. We should also be asking, is the student comfortable? Are they emotionally ready? Is their quality of life being considered? And the truth is that many schools still struggle to meet the needs of autistic students. Often this stems from limited teacher training and a lack of understanding of what autistic students actually need to thrive in the classroom, especially students who are non-speaking or may require higher levels of support. And I don't speak for every autistic student, and I would never claim to, but I can tell you this, I wish I had been given more voice and choices earlier in my journey, and I wish someone had simply asked, what do you need? So, quickly, true inclusion cannot mean asking autistic people to make all of the adjustments. One of my final points here is a theory called the double empathy problem, which essentially says that communication breakdowns between autistic and non-autistic people go both ways. And the issue is not that autistic people lack empathy, it's that we express and interpret our emotions differently. And so mutual understanding, shared effort, and respect should be really involved to achieve access for students with disabilities. And to me, that's where true inclusion really begins. So, in closing, autism is not a tragedy, it's a different way of being. And my journey has had challenges, but I'm here speaking today because people believed in me, because supports became available, and because I was allowed to define success on my own terms. And truly, the best outcomes happen when systems adapt, when we stop forcing students to fit the mold and start creating environments that respond to who students are. And had I been identified earlier, maybe my experience could have been different. I could have had more self-understanding or self-agency. And that's all families and children with disabilities really want, the ability to choose how their child grows. So thank you for listening today, and I'm really grateful to all my colleagues at OSEP, and thank you to Diane and Anna for the invitation. Thank you for giving me the space to be myself in